a customer that was trying to get discounts on cigarettes, right? You buy two at a discounted price, but we couldn't figure out a way to get that, and I lost that merchant because of that.
Let me tell you, specifically for cigarettes, you probably don't have a lot of merchants on cigarettes. Do you know what tobacco scan data is?
Tobacco scan data? No, I like he was talking about a little bit, and it might be something a little different where Marlboro.
This is probably why you lost that merchant. So the tobacco merchants are very unique. Because they are put into this program like the tobacco market is basically controlled by like 3 companies, right? So we have Altria, that's Philip Morris, that's Marlboro, that's Parliament, all these brands. And then there's another company called Reynolds, right? And so they control, Camel, Newport, a bunch of other brands. And then there's this third company called ITG. Right, so together they pretty much control like 80% of the tobacco shelf in any store.
Okay.
And like if you are the merchant whose revenue is heavily dependent on that particular product type, you're going to have to do what's called tobacco scan data. And it's a program where, you have to provide transaction level data information back to those manufacturers about the sales of their product. And then what happens is they allow you to sell the product basically at cost, and then they reimburse you on the back end. And so your entire profit margin kind of happens on the back end.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. And he had this little sheet that really depended on that. And of course, we set him up and we had workarounds and
There is so much to that program, like you wouldn't believe. We have a solution for this. So we have tobacco scan data for all the manufacturers on Clover. And it requires 4 apps. It constantly requires us to keep updating stuff and maintaining things because just the other day, Altria came out with, so like aside from the transaction level data that you have to provide them, you have to do compliant discounts, and this is where you lost your merchant because not only do they have to discount the way the manufacturers want, but they have to do it in the way that the manufacturers can see and prove that they've done it.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the manufacturers dictate the codes, the conditions, the requirements for all the discounts, and then the merchant just executes those discounts. But every time they come up with a new scheme that requires us to update software, basically they'll be like, half the America now will run it under this code, and the other half of America will run it under that code. And it's like, okay, well, each code requires a different form. So it's just like if you're just trying to kind of hack it without even knowing what tobacco scan data is, you're not gonna get it done.
Yeah, that's what we had to do a lot more manual work in the back end, and it wasn't. Yeah, so that's another story, but.